With classical RPA robots, you have selectors. You are telling the robot what to do step by step in application, right? And now with LLMs, the concept is that you could prompt LLM, hey, book me a flight to Dubai next week. Or, hey, I want a new skateboard, right? Choose the best skateboard for my medium level skills and buy it for me. And there are some examples on the market where LLM can order pizza for you, for example, right? But when we are talking about real business processes and you will ask LLM, hey, I want to hire Andrzej at my company, right? So contact Andrzej and hire him. LLM will not really, might have a challenge to figure out what it actually needs to do in order to hire you.
They get about 30,000 emails a month into their common finance mailboxes.
So there are different teams, different languages.
And there were quite a few interesting examples where those emails are sometimes even really hard for humans to handle.
I think it had 95 steps or something like this. Also, there were a couple of teams and the teams were moving the tasks between them 50 times during the process.
Yeah.
I think they reduced the number of steps to 40. They also reduced the lead time several times. So from several days, I think, to 1 day.
Konnichiwa. Welcome everyone to the AI Automation Dojo, where we look at the state of business conferences and ask, couldn't this all have been an email? Well, we decided to make one that couldn't. Today we're basking in the afterglow of our third edition of the Samurai and Friends conference. You'll hear from the two founders of Office Samurai, who are currently running on a dangerous combination of adrenaline and caffeine. We're here to dissect what happens when you create an intelligent automation conference that respects everyone's intelligence. I'm your host, Andrzej Kinastowski, one of the founders of Office Samurai, the company that decided to throw a conference and actually make it useful. Imagine that. So, whether you were there and want to relive the glory, or you missed out and are drowning in FOMO, you're in the right place. Now grab your favorite katana, or that complimentary pen you definitely swiped from the registration desk, and let's get to it. Last week we had the third edition of our annual Samurai and Friends conference. Dominic, how do you feel? Like, how tired are you? Are you regenerated already? Or
Andrzej, first of all, I should ask you, what conference?
Oh, okay.
Officially, there was no conference, right? There is like no web page where you can go and buy tickets.
Yeah.
So this is invitation-only event where we invite our friends, mostly on managerial, director, or C-level positions to talk about AI, automation, and process improvement. Yeah, and I feel a little exhausted, but satisfied.
Yeah, we had in the end something like 160 people almost, or so. 2 days, a really nice after party, which I think is quite important.
Of course.
And the question right after the conference that I'm often asking myself is, why are we doing this?
So I guess we are doing the event because there is a lot of fuss on the market about what's possible, what's potentially possible with AI. You can see those post on LinkedIn with 500 AI use cases, which basically means nothing, right? If you go into it, probably they are generated by AI itself, and these are not real use cases. So we wanted to see what's happening on the market, what's possible, what kind of projects different companies are doing, and also what type of failures they are during the project. I think this was also interesting part to see, and this is very rare on conference, right? That the speakers are also showing what didn't went well, or how they think they need to pivot their project. So I guess this is the biggest value, that this conference was about real stuff, real projects.
Yeah, I think this is something that, and we also see this in the surveys that attendees fill in, is that, well, first of all, of course, no bullshit rule has been observed. And the people who speak are the people who are actually doing things and are willing to share their stories.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that there were no speeches about plans for AI programs, about AI roadmaps and other consulting BS, right? It was all about real projects that really happened and what type of learnings people had out of them.
We had quite a few of different technologies on the conference, although we already see that, for instance, in the world of RPA, some of the vendors have fallen behind a bit when it comes to AI. But we were very lucky to have companies who partnered with us and sponsored us. We had UiPath and KYP. Aspire was helping us with the conference and in letting the word out. And of course, we had Shock, which is every year they are preparing great
scenography.
All the technical details around it. The thing they did this year with making the colors of the whole room synchronized with the main color of the presentation was, I think it was one of those little things that you don't see anywhere else.
Yeah, and I think we also need to mention that the conference was so hot. We even get a fire, right?
Yeah. We did have a fire. It was not on purpose, and it was very fast. We were able to contain it, but yes, we did have that. So we were hosting day one, keeping everything under control and on time. We started with my keynote, talking about gaming industry. Any thoughts on that?
I was really surprised and curious to see what you want to take from gaming industry into AI automation space. So
I'm sure we're going to make a podcast episode on that. So probably no point in digging deeper into that. Then we had Krzysztof Karaszewski from Agentic.ai. His topic was the new frontier, what is possible with agentic automation. And we've known Krzysztof for a long time. What did you think?
Well, it was, I would say, very different from other presentations which were focused on projects. So Krzysztof was showing what's currently possible with AI and also how fast the models develop, right? I have two learnings from his presentation. One learning is LLM doesn't matter that much right now, right? Because the next month you will have some new LLM that will maybe solve the problems that you had in the past. So it's not a matter if ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini or whichever of those you are using, right? It's I think more important just to have access to those foundational models in your organization. And the second learning is about prompting, right? To have this, to ask AI how AI could help us to ask another AI a question properly.
Yeah. This is something that a lot of people were very curious about, because if you're doing this, you kind of already know and it feels kind of obvious. But if you didn't do it before, it is kind of an aha moment that you can ask an LLM to write a prompt for an LLM, and it's doing it really, really well. You still need to know what you want to get from it, but it helps a lot. We do that in Office Samurai, and it's a great help, and it speeds everything up.
And I mean, it also depends what you want from LLM, right? If you are asking LLM what's the biggest mountain in the world, probably you don't need a special prompt engineering techniques for that. But if you want LLM to do like some more complex real stuff, right? Then you should focus more on the quality of your question. And this is a good area. I think he called it meta prompting.
Meta prompting, yeah, that's right. Yeah, another thing that I was quite curious about his experiments on using LLMs for process analysis. This is something that we have been discussing in the company quite a lot. It would help us a lot. It's kind of a hit and miss right now. Some things work, some others not as well as we would like them to. But this is something that would really, really help everyone if we were able to do more of process analysis with LLM models.
Yeah, definitely. What I see currently is that our analysts are very actively using AI to do notes from the meetings, right? Summaries, next action. So it still helps. But if AI could also draw the whole process map without much mistakes, or at least have 80% of work done, that would be perfect, right?
Yeah.
But I think the challenge is that those solution works well if you have a happy path.
Yeah.
But then if you are getting a lot of exceptions and you get back to like previous part of the process, then add something more, it's much more complicated for AI to catch up with you.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for people, so it's even harder for AI. And most processes that we encounter are no longer just like simple and happy path kind of processes. So yeah. And also, Krzysztof has a lot of interesting posts on LinkedIn, so we encourage everyone to have a look at what he's writing. He's always trying to push the boundaries of what AI can do and prepare those proofs of concept and developing things that often can be quite an inspiration.
There's one more thing I actually remember from Krzysztof's presentation. So he was comparing UI agents, right? So agents that instead of so how to explain it? With classical RPA robots, you have selectors. You are telling the robot what to do step by step in application, right? And now with LLMs, the concept is that you could prompt LLM, hey, book me a flight to Dubai next week. Or, hey, I want a new skateboard, right? Choose the best skateboard for my medium level skills and buy it for me. And there are some examples on the market where LLM can order pizza for you, for example, right? And you are just writing, hey, I want salami pizza, medium size. Please order it for me as soon as possible. Here is my address, right? And pick up some nice restaurant. And in some cases, LLMs are already able to do those tasks or part of them.
Yeah.
But when we are talking about real business processes and you will ask LLM, hey, I want to hire Andrzej at my company, right? So contact Andrzej and hire him. LLM will not really, might have a challenge to figure out what it actually needs to do in order to hire you.
Yeah.
Right? So Krzysztof was also showing comparison how I think Claude LLM and their agentic UI operate on different application, and he actually showed, this was very interesting for me, that LLM is learning application based on positions. right? So it identify a buttons, and then it knows I need to go 200 pixels down, 100 pixels left, and click another button, right? But what if the resolution will change? What if the interface will change? So he was also comparing it to, I think, UiPath, UI Vision or UI Agent, something like this, where the agent still receives the basic prompt, what it needs to do, but it's actually working on selectors, right? Not on the position of buttons, which is interesting and from what I remember, much faster approach.
Yeah, but it's gonna be a really, really long time until we let agents actually click things in our systems on their own, right? That's something that this technology still has a way to go, and to be sure that if you process tens of thousands of cases to just let agent decide every time, it wouldn't be efficient, right? But it also would be quite risky at this point in time.
Yeah, and I guess for small businesses or for private people that can take the risk, it wouldn't be a problem, right? But for big corporations where you want the AI to stick to your process, this might be a challenge.
Yeah, and this theme actually has been repeating on different speeches, this thing about how do we make sure that AI, and specifically Gen AI, will not do stupid things. How do we separate it from where it can make mistakes that will cost us money? Then we had Dariusz Procyk and Mirosław Rodzeń. The title, they are from Kingfisher. So for those of you who don't know the Kingfisher logo, in Poland, they have Castorama stores. So
in UK, B&Q or
UK,
Screwfix?
Yeah, exactly. So it is a really big international company, and having so many stores is a challenge on its own. And the title of their speech was "Dear Email, We Need to Talk, Email Automation with AI." And it is a project that we are actually doing together with them. So we do have insight into what's going on there. They get about 30,000 emails a month into their common finance mailboxes, and somebody has to process those emails, right?
Yeah, and it's not about only one mailbox, right? Because it's 40-something mailboxes, if I remember correctly. So there are different teams, different languages. So you cannot really put, a simple form and ask everyone, oh, now you need to fill the form, and we'll manage it as a service request, for example.
And the story was about how we together build a framework based on a lot of different components, but the AI component was communications mining. And the communications mining job was to take the email and structure the data, extract the data that is needed for the robots to perform those processes. And there were quite a few interesting examples where those emails are sometimes even really hard for humans to handle. They don't always contain all the information that is needed. Sometimes they are written in really strange ways. Sometimes they are a throwback to an email in the email thread that is like 5 emails back from what they're requesting.
I actually remember 2 examples. One example was an email saying, hey, please do for me the same task as you did last week.
Yeah.
And, you really need to know this person and find his or her former request to figure out what they want. Another example was with a picture, right? So someone just sent a picture with information about usage of electricity in a shop.
Yeah, just a photo of...
and that was the whole body of the email, right? Like no more explanation. And the task was to book in financial system how much electricity was used in a certain month.
Yeah. So these are really good examples of how theory meets practice, right? And we see that those technologies have come a long way, and communications mining is a great tool, and we had great success using it. But then certain kinds of projects, the technology just isn't enough, right? Right now, and that was basically the story, is that now we are looking into using LLMs to process those emails because of their complexity. The communications mining tool is not enough anymore. But of course, using LLMs comes with its own challenges. You do not get a confidence score, which is essential in this kind of processes. So we'll see where it lands.
And maybe for those of you who doesn't know communication mining, right? Because some of our listeners might hear this term first time.
Yeah.
This is an approach where you're teaching a machine learning model on a quite big amount of emails. What to do with them, right? How to categorize those emails into different categories, how to take different information from them. And it's totally different approach with LLMs, where you simply prompt that figure out what this email is about and
hope for the best.
Yeah.
Really interesting technology, and I'm sure we're gonna have an episode about it. No perfect solutions for now when it comes to emails or tickets processing. We'll see where the technology takes us. But I think this speech was very valuable from the perspective of what you mentioned before. It's great to talk about things that worked, but it's even more important, possibly even more important, to talk about things that didn't work, so that others don't have to make the same mistakes that we did.
Exactly.
And we can learn from other people's mistakes. Then we had Gabor Kormendi from SPS, Hungary. And he has been talking, the topic of the presentation was digital interaction analysis, the SPS Hungary case. They have been talking about their how they use KYP in their organization, right? You work with KYP quite a lot. What did you think?
SPS, for those of you who doesn't know the organization, they are BPO. So basically, they outsource services. It used to be Swiss Post Services in the past, part of DXC. Now they are a separate organization. Yeah. And of course, they have a lot of repetitive tasks. They do processes for many customers, mostly from Germany. And they need to book time, right? So let's say you, Andrzej, you are spending, 2 hours on a certain process for a BMW, let's say. I'm not sure if BMW is their customer, by the way, but just a guess. And then they need to send an invoice, right, for your 2 hours of work to this company. So in the past, people were basically manually choosing that now I'm working for company A and doing this process. Now I'm working for company B and doing this process. And with KYP, actually we found out that people spend around 4% of their time only selecting which processes they are doing.
That's a lot, like 4% just for tracking.
They actually had a cost of many thousand hours a year just for this activity. So with KYP, they were able to reduce it because KYP works in the background and it's figuring out on its own what the people are doing and can make the measurements up to the seconds. So you not only... It doesn't take people's time, but you also get results that are way closer to the truth than manual measurement. Yeah.
Right?
Additionally, what they had was information about activities of their people. So they were able to see how much their people work, if some of them are underutilized or overutilized, how to better balance the work inside a team. However, I was a little surprised that they are not using any process discovery features from KYP. So features that can tell you what can be automated or improved in your processes, that analyze and produce process maps out of the activities your people are doing. But from what I understand, this is the next step in their journey that they want to take.
Yeah, and it's something that doesn't cease to amaze me about KYP is that when I first saw the tool, I come from continuous improvement. So my first thought was, oh my God, if I were to do lean management projects, I would have such amazing data. And this is how I think about KYP. But then we find that different companies use it for completely different purposes, right? And it still makes sense. So in the end, it is a tool that different companies implement for completely different reasons.
Yeah. In SPS case, it was operational steering. So they wanted to manage better their operations. But we have companies that use KYP only for identifying cases for automation or improvement, right? Or that want to learn what type of processes they have.
Yeah, that's a good first step when you want to do anything about your processes. The next one was Michał Baraniak from Euroclear. His topic was Start with Lean and Never Stop, a story of continuous transformation of Euroclear Bank. This one was like right up my alley, right? I come from lean management. I made my career doing continuous improvement. And actually, Michał was a part of my team at Lufthansa. So I was really, really happy to hear about what they're doing in Euroclear. And Euroclear is a bank for the banks. So they handle transactions between banks and a lot of really important stuff that basically, it can make the world stop if something doesn't work at Euroclear, right?
Let's hope it doesn't.
Yeah. Any thoughts on what they are doing in Euroclear?
Yeah. I mean, it was very different from a typical lean transformation, right? Because with at least what we are very often seeing is lean transformation black belts coming to a company, introducing Kaizen, so those small improvements everyone can submit, implementing maybe boards for the teams or stand-up meetings, and I would say more basic things that create this basic of lean culture. And Euroclear is quite different because they already did this for many years, and they figure out that they cannot really focus on a team level when doing lean transformation, right? So they started doing end-to-end projects where they were analyzing what different teams are doing, but within end-to-end process. And it was, I think, very surprising for me to see the example that Michał showed, that they had a process. I think it had 95 steps or something like this. Also, there were a couple of teams, and the teams were moving the tasks between them 50 times during the process. Yeah. So when they analyzed it and they showed the results to the teams and tried to redesign how it should actually looks like, I think they reduced the number of steps to 40. I think the places where they move processes, something like 15 maybe. Yeah. So they simplified significantly the process. They also reduced the lead time several times. So from several days, I think, to 1 day. And if you think about automation, and if you had RPA team or even AI team now coming to this first version of the process, right, and asking how we can automate it with LLMs, with AI. Maybe they could, improve few places and have some quick wins, but actually this would be a huge waste of time. Because you would be automating something which is a total waste.
That is true. And this is something that it's like the holy grail of continuous improvement is improving end-to-end processes. And everybody talks about it and everybody wants to do it, but there's so few companies that are actually doing it. I have seen, and we have been part of organizations that improving end-to-end processes would mean for 2 years, we're going to be mapping everything and then we'll see what happens. And of course, after 2 years, nothing really happens because you have 1,000 maps and nobody knows what to do with them. And here they do it, but it is, as you said, it is a logical set of steps. So they started with basic, they have the dashboards, they have the meetings, all of those things they did, but then they didn't stop there. They go with more and more complex things, and it really works, right? It's years and years of work. And also what is really important is that you cannot stop, you cannot change the course after a few years, because this is what often happens. A new managing director comes and they set up this continuous improvement program. They do it for 3 or 4 years, great results. And then the managing director goes somewhere else, a new one comes and says, no, we're going to be doing something else. And you never get to this stage that Euroclear got to.
That's true. There's one more thing that I think was quite special about them is that they put on the first place the customer. This whole transformation was customer-centric, and they actually invited customers to take part in those projects, to give them feedback, to listen to so-called voice of the customer, right? We often tend to forget about this when we are doing improvement or automation projects. Still, it's a very obvious thing, but when was the last time you spoke to your customers?
That is absolutely spot on. Everybody says they're doing it. Everybody knows it should be done, but almost no one is doing it. I told Michał after the conference, and Michał, I'm telling you again, you need to start writing a book about this.
Maybe with Andrzej.
I'm no longer that close to those projects. The next speech was by Sava Konfish and Jakub Markowski from Rockwell Automation. Rockwell Automation is a company doing automations, as the name suggests, but they do those automations that everybody kind of thinks about when you are saying robots, so actual physical
industrial
automation. But they have been talking, the title of the speech was Rabbi, Automation Initiative, Removing SAP from Purchasing Workflows. And I really like the idea because they thought of something that I myself probably wouldn't have thought of. So basically when they have to put purchase requests in their system, and they purchase a lot. Production companies do that. They take the quote that you received from the vendor and they upload it to a system, and the AI kind of reads the quote and it makes it into the purchase order, which once you have seen it, it's the most logical thing to do.
It looked obvious.
It's obvious once you've heard about it, but a great way to actually utilize what the LLMs are good at. Right?
Yeah, and if you think about this doesn't sound spectacular, right? But when they were talking about numbers, I actually took my phone, open calculator, and quickly calculated that actually they increased productivity for the whole company something like 50 FTE, if I remember correctly. I'm not sure if they were able to translate them to P&L, right? But even if you have soft savings for 50 FTE across your whole organization of up to several thousand people, it means your employees can focus on more important things than putting orders into the system.
Yeah, it's not something that people like to do. Manual data entry is not people's favorite thing to do. And they created this neat tool with easy to use interface where it does things for you, but of course, having in mind that LLMs still hallucinate and make mistakes, the final step is basically for a human to have a look at what it understood from the quote and do some changes if necessary, and then just let it create.
There's also another perspective how you can see it, because they actually used low-code application development. So they created their own low-code application which looked much better than their old SAP legacy system. They were also able to resign from SAP licenses, which might be not very nice information for SAP, but for sure Rockwell had some savings out of this.
Yeah, the project was really, really interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing more of this kind of projects where we actually take this manual work from people so they can focus on the important, the human kind of work. That was a wrap for day one.
Yeah.
We are not going to go into the details when it comes to the after party. It was phenomenal though, and thank you to everyone who have joined us. And then day two, because day one, those speeches are 30 minutes long. There is a little bit time for questions, but we focus more on getting the ideas out, on inspiring people, showing them use cases. And then day two, we use for deep dives. So we have less speeches, but they are longer, an hour long, and we go more into detail about the implementation and about often technical details of what's going on in there. Dagmara Sysua, our delivery manager, was hosting this one. Dagmara, thank you for doing that. The first one we had on day two was by Radosław Ociepa from McCormick. He was talking about P2P service desk AI agent. And this is something that is kind of close to our heart, because this is something that we also have worked on the last few months.
Yeah.
How did you find it?
Yeah, I think that those service desk agent, no matter if we are talking about finance, HR, procurement, or IT help desk, this is a place where a heavy number of automations with AI will actually take place. Right? This is also my suspicion when we are talking about, for example, Salesforce layoffs. Right? So they announced out of 9,000 people in their customer operations, I think they reduced the number by 4,000. And my suspicion is this is mostly level 1 service desk agents.
Yeah, and I think when we hear about those huge layoffs that the companies are doing, most of them, I think, are bullshit from the perspective of they say it's because of AI, but AI adoption isn't that high. I mean, it's just an excuse to do something you would have done anyway. But in this example that you talk about, I think that may be it. It's something that Gen AI is really, really effective in those processes. L1, absolutely.
Learning for you, if you are looking for a good area to start with AI, service desk type of work might be a good place.
Yeah, they put it together using UiPath agents. What was it? UiPath agents, which is quite a new thing. I mean, it's few months old, right? When it comes to general access, we had some episodes about it, but they showed that thanks to this technology, they can implement things, and they can implement them pretty fast, because if they were to build it from scratch, it
Mm-hmm.
would require a lot of effort, and it would require a lot of skill that I don't know if they do have within the organization, or possibly
Yeah,
they would have to hire,
probably
right?
some machine learning DevOps engineers and people like that. Yeah.
So this allows them, as they already have the UiPath platform and using robots, so this makes it way easier for them to implement. And I'm really looking forward. They have said that they started with the P2P service desk, because on a P2P service desk, you get a lot of repetitive questions like, hey, what's the status of my invoice? So this is something that I've been answering this kind of emails, and I hated it deeply.
For you.
Yeah. And it makes sense to start there, but they already have plans to use the same technology to go and do the same thing with other service desks. And we were able, thanks to having an hour, we are able to go quite deep when it comes to how they did it. We saw exactly how they built the agents.
Yeah, and I think it was quite common setup, right? Because they had, I think, 3 or 4 applications where you need to check information. There was SAP, Ariba, and some other 2. And depending on the use case, you either need to go to one of it. So it's not like agent working only within one application, but you really need to orchestrate what the agents are doing. Plus, the agents were not doing the whole work, right? There were also integrations in place. There were also RPA robots, so classic stuff. And the agents were used to understand what the question is about. But then once you know it, you don't really need agent to do the work. You can have like a classic automation for that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think they used another agent to write a nice reply from the data that the robot gives to an agent. But it makes sense, and it clearly shows that you don't want to use AI for everything. There's pieces where AI makes sense, and there's pieces where other technologies do.
You know what? One thing surprised me in this presentation. They mentioned that there is no human in the loop, and that their business director, he asked them not to verify the emails that are being sent. Right? So for me, it was really surprising that they actually did it, and we typically recommend people to have some kind of final verification by the human, or maybe early verification if the agent is going proper direction. And people were asking about this, and it was discussed. Basically, those processes that currently are performed by the agent are very low risk, right? So, and also there's other ways of verification, whether it's okay to do this. I do agree. I would probably advise at least at the beginning, the first few weeks, to put human in the loop. But we like brave people who do brave things. We're really looking forward to hearing where it goes. I'm sure that when they get to, I don't know, at R2R or O2C service desk, then or HR
or HR
try to reply about HR policy, right, without verifying.
So I'm sure it will come. Then we had Piotr Zając from UiPath, UiPath Act 2 Agentic Automation. That was a lot of information. Right?
Oh yeah, that was, I think, the most packed presentation. So Piotr is speaking very quickly, and he was very quickly showing how UiPath is transforming their organization and products from like traditional RPA to AI first automation. I guess it was, first of all, interesting for UiPath customers. Maybe not so much for those using Blue Prism or Automation Anywhere, but when we spoke, if we could really invite other vendors to the conference and ask them to speak about the AI capabilities, we're not sure if they would have a proper story to tell.
Yeah, the answer may be, what AI capabilities? Yeah, that is true. And UiPath is working on the AI side of the business heavily, kind of to a point where they do see it as Act 2, as this making the platform into something completely different in the end. It doesn't mean they're gonna stop delivering robots and so on, because it has a part in the whole landscape. But they rightfully say that it's no longer enough. And so all those AI capabilities, they have to be there because this is what the customers are expecting. We need those technologies to be able to solve more and more problems.
Yeah, and long story short, I have the feeling that UiPath is trying to put AI into every type of their product, right? So they put it in robots, like self-healing selectors. They put it in test automation, like AI use cases for tests. They put it to process mining. So basically, document extraction. So everywhere you could think AI could be potentially used, but they already have the whole framework, right?
Yeah.
So they are not building it from a scratch. So it's I would say for customers much easier to start using it.
Yeah. No, and also it's important that those AI features are kind of optional in a way that if you don't like the idea of self-healing selectors, which I personally have doubts about, and I'm sure my developers have doubts too, then you just don't use it, right? But you have an option to use it when it fits, when it makes sense.
Exactly.
Then we had Zuzanna Pamua and Michał Kozubski, both from Office Samurai, talking about KYP.ai and the unexpected findings. This was something that I work with them on daily basis, but I was still really looking forward to this one, as they tried to gather as many surprising things that they would find or our customers would find with KYP during the projects. Like we discussed earlier, KYP can be used for a lot of different things, and this also means that you can get a lot of findings that you might not even have been looking for this information, but it pops up.
That's true. But for me, the biggest learning from it was that maybe we should think about creating more custom dashboards in KYP, where you could find out how much your meeting costs in your organization, right? Because Zuza was also showing for really nice examples where a work of manager is being analyzed, right? And, manager typically in organizations right now, they would use Outlook, maybe Teams, maybe a little of Excel. And instead of sometimes doing the work, they are mostly meeting with people and talking with people. Sometimes it's justified, sometimes probably could be reduced, but you don't really know what's the scale of it.
Yeah.
And with KYP, you can actually calculate how much your daily meetings cost you, right? And what's the costs in case they took 45 minutes instead of 15 minutes.
Yeah, and it is something that for managers, it is the bulk of their work, but even operational employees, they spend a lot of time on meetings, right? And you need a certain amount of meetings for things to work, but a lot of the organizations have too many meetings, and those meetings just get in the way of employees doing their job. In Office Samurai, we've been through the whole thing, right? We had, especially during COVID, we had to change the way we work and then figure out the new way of when we're no longer all in the office and we cannot just get to somebody and ask them. And we've been going through this, like we had a lot of meetings and then we got feedback that there's maybe too many, so we were reducing them. We didn't use KYP for this, but if we had this tool, it would be way easier for us to discuss this and to understand what's really going on.
Yeah, But when I'm thinking about this, I never heard in any organization that we have not enough meetings.
Yeah, that's not a usual sentiment.
I'm usually hearing we have enough, which is like a perfect situation, or we have too much, which is like 80% of cases.
Yeah, I agree. No, this absolutely. It makes sense to measure it, to actually think about it, and there were a lot of other cases. I am trying to convince Zuza or Michał or both of them to actually make a podcast episode, a solo podcast episode about this. So
sure.
Stay tuned. We're gonna be back with more examples. And then the cherry on top, Dominik Jaskulski of his Samurai with the speech, AI Automation Playbook. It was something, for me, it was something that I was thinking for the whole of your speech, I was thinking we should have created something like this sooner. So you put together thoughts and frameworks and ideas about how AI should be introduced in organizations, because we see a lot of examples, both good and bad, with companies we work with, and a lot of them bad, actually, right?
That's true. And honestly speaking, I made this presentation by coincidence. Because I was planning to do presentation about AI use cases. So where you should start looking for use cases, which of them make sense, which not, to give people some summary, right? That they are leaving the conference with actual ideas where to start. But then when I started to making all those slides together, I was missing something in the story. So I came up with this idea that you have basically few main phases of what you should do to properly implement AI in your organization. And it was also created based on the feedback or lessons learned from two reports. So one report was from McKinsey, another one from MIT. And both of those reports, they were talking about a type of a gap where basically a lot of organizations have this horizontal implementations. By horizontal, they mean that you are, for example, giving access to ChatGPT or access to Microsoft Copilot to all employees, right? And some of them are using it, some not. And it's really hard to get and measure benefits out of it. By the way, KYP can help you with measuring benefits in those scenarios, but it's still hard to translate those benefits into P&L, right? I think McKinsey, they figure out that only 1% of organizations think the AR strategy is mature, right? So it really means that we are still on early stage. And in addition to those horizontal projects, you also have vertical projects. So like this P2P service desk agent from McCormick, this is an example of vertical project or maybe Rockwell Automation, right? So they did a project in a certain area with end-to-end process that resolves some type of problem the organization is having. And actually only 5% of those projects succeed. A lot of them, most of them actually stuck in POC or pilot phase. And the conclusion was that these are type of projects that give you real benefits that translate to P&L. However, it's not very easy to start with those projects, right? If your organization don't have yet access to LLMs, the people don't know how to use it, it's the first project for your developers, it's pretty hard to start with this huge transformative project. So my proposition was to introduce AI in phases, to start with in horizontal way with chatbots, copilots, then maybe go to AI assistants. So AI that is plugged into your knowledge, your databases, can answer questions about your the information that you already have in your systems, can summarize it, etc. Then next stage would be simple AI agents. So AI agents that can actually do something for you, but in a single system. I think both the cases with McCormick and Rockwell was a good example of those single agent, because agent just had one task to do. You didn't need to synchronize a very complex agentic system. And this is actually the last level, right? Where you need to orchestrate the agents. Sometimes maybe the agent will need to orchestrate other agents. You might have many AI agents during the whole process, which are specialized in different tasks, human-in-the-loop scenarios, etc. So before you get to this level, you actually should do some homework and have some basic stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah, this last level is not many companies are there, and it's clearly
non-companies are there on a big scale. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, it probably depends whom you ask, but
if you ask LinkedIn, everyone is.
Exactly. But absolutely, you start with the basics and then you build on them. And it's true. Whatever it is you're doing, you if you want to do it responsibly and not only in PowerPoint, then you need to take a certain amount of steps before you get there. And this MIT report, it's brutal. Like, I mean, I've read it, and it's I had the feeling it's kind of like this, that only 5% of those projects actually succeed and bring benefits. I thought it would be higher than 5%.
But you know, they also have other interesting findings, like the fact that 40% of organizations have introduced copilots or AI chatbots for their employees, where in 90% of companies, employees are already using them.
Yeah.
Right? So it means your data is being sent to someone's cloud. Without your consent, without any supervision. So it might be a good moment to rethink that maybe this 2-year project you are doing to introduce some kind of AI in your organization, maybe it's time to speed it up a little.
Yeah, I think it's a great finding, because if you are in IT security, then you need to realize that if you do not give a safe way for your employees to use AI, they're just going to use it in an unsafe way, right? And you're not going to be able to stop them.
Exactly. And another thing is training, right? We have seen a lot of organizations have, for example, buying generic trainings or asking their employees, just to do some YouTube videos or have a training what is LLM, but then they cannot really translate it to their work. So I was showing an example with one company I cannot mention, where the team was analyzing like very heavy transactional SQL queries, like thousands of lines, one huge query inside another query. So this was used for reporting in a big manufacturing company. And so they were trying to figure out how some KPIs are being calculated, right? But there was no easy answer to that. So I put those whole queries into, I think it was Copilot, right? Just created a simple prompt, and in 7 minutes they had a result where they previously had a team of 3 people doing this task the whole day, and they were like in the middle of it.
Yeah, I know. It has to happen. For some things, those tools are just too good. And kind of one final thought from this report. I'm sure we're going to be getting to this report on the podcast way more. Was that based on the MIT research, if you start implementing AI in your company by yourself, you have only 50% of the chances compared to implementing it with an external experienced partner, right? So if you want to double your chances, let us know. We can help you do that, right? The speech that you gave, I will also be chasing you about making it into an episode of the podcast. This is something that I think it would be very interesting for a lot of people. To sum up, those 2 days have been exhausting for us, for sure, but it was extremely good to hear all the stories that the companies had to tell, and to meet all those people that are interested in those topics, and all the discussions. No matter how good the conference is, the networking is always better, right?
Yeah, and actually I feel very inspired and energized, and this is usually the main reason why I was taking part into conferences, right? One thing was to learn something new, but this inspirational part and this excitement that, hey, we actually have the same problem and they already showed us how to solve it, so let's do it at our company as well.
Yeah.
So that's my take out of it.
Dominique, thank you. We need to now find a way to get a little bit of rest, and before we start thinking about the next conference. So,
arigato.
Thank you, everyone.
Wow.
And that's a wrap on our Samurai and Friends debrief. The stage is empty, the banners are down, and the last of the complimentary cookies have been fought over and consumed. Domo arigato for tuning in to our Victory Lab. We know your time is valuable, unlike that stack of business cards from conferences past. A massive heartfelt thank you to the real heroes of the event, the speakers and the companies who shared their stories. They didn't just bring presentations, they brought proof. And to our amazing attendees, thank you for making the Friends part of the Samurai and Friends a reality. This episode and the conference itself wouldn't be possible without our producer, Anna Tsubal, the master strategist behind the scenes. We record in the legendary Vodzubit studio, where we are already whiteboarding ideas for the next event. If this recap made you want in on the action next time, make sure you're following us on social media for announcements. And as always, subscribe, rate, and review the show. It helps us trick the algorithm into thinking we're important. Let us know what you want to see next year. More AI, more process mining, seppuku workshops. All suggestions are on the table. Drop us a message. Until next time, keep your processes automated and your conferences bullshit-free. Matane.